Okay, stay with us. More updates coming in. Call now referring to Rule 11 of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly rules. Rule 11 of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly rules is being discussed right now as we speak. The procedure is established in Rule 11. So not just these two judgments that Advocate Kaul was referring to, he is now also gone back to the rule book, invoking Rule 1 of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly rules to say that, look, this is the procedure that the Deputy Speaker is now violating. Nilashish.
Well, absolutely. Now he's coming on to the point of the time given as far as response is concerned. So he says that you have to give a notice, a 14-day period of notice goes before it is read out in the assembly, and 21 members rise in support of it. But this procedure is not followed. So the rule that we are alluding to, Rule 11 of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly rules, is that you give a notice, a 14-day period of notice goes before it is read out in assembly, and 21 members rise in support of it. This procedure has not been followed, is also what Neeraj Kishan Kaul is saying. The Speaker has no authority to deal with the issue.
And he says, Nilashish, just stay with me, undue haste, violation of principles of natural justice, at least 7 days time to respond to disqualification notice should have been given. Blatant violation of Deputy Speaker, something that we have been discussing, that the Deputy Speaker in this case gave only 2 days, just 48 hours to the rebel MLAs, while they should have got at least 7 days, if not 14. And now, as we speak, also update coming in from Maharashtra, the Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray and Aditya Thackeray are coming to visit the police family near Worli. So the Chief Minister and Aditya Thackeray, they both have an event at 2:30 p.m. But let's go back to get you the arguments from the court. Call now questioning that just 48-hour time to file response to the disqualification notice, saying rules mandate that at least 7 days time should be given. This period of 7 days is sought to be illegally curtailed by granting the petitioner merely 48 hours to reply to the disqualification petition, which is nothing but an eyewash. Strong words used by the Advocate Kaul, which is nothing but an eyewash to put a facade of compliance of rules. So really taking on the Deputy Speaker, the Maharashtra government, the Aghadi government, and saying that, look, all laid down norms and procedure, they are being violated. Nilashish.
Well, absolutely. This is the second major point that is being raised and has been continuously raised, the amount of time granted to respond to a notice. As we've been saying, the Shinde camp's insistence is that this is a facade in the name of compliance of rules. They're saying it's an eyewash. Given the fact that only 48 hours were granted to them, at least a period of 7 days should have been granted. In fact, as far as the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly rules are concerned, Kaul went on to say that you give a notice and a 14-day period of notice goes before it is read out in the assembly, and 21 members rise in support of it. Now, these are part of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly rules, and he says that also was not followed. Principles of natural justice, of course, not followed as far as the Shinde faction is concerned in this case. Also,
Advocate Kaul also referring to the Ashish Selar judgment, where SC set aside 1 year suspension of MLAs to say that in cases of extreme impropriety, the Supreme Court has interfered in Article 32, and this is precisely the point that the Shinde camp has been underlining. Remember, when Mr. Shinde spoke to Times Now, he was asked this question, will he go to court? He said that, look, question does not arise because the procedure and the norms are clearly laid out. But after the Deputy Speaker is in violation, or so is the charge, of these laid down procedure, the Shinde camp now moving Supreme Court, and Advocate Kaul representing the Shinde camp reading out various provisions, citing verdicts of the Supreme Court in 2 cases, also reading the rule book. Navita Kumar is also joining us. Navita, fast-paced developments in the Supreme Court.
That's right. There are 3 major issues that have been raised by the Shinde camp lawyer, Mr. Neeraj Kishan Kaul, senior counsel. One, if the Speaker's disqualification itself is pending, how can he take a decision on any other pending petitions? Number 2, time given is less than the 7 days prescribed in Rule 11 of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly. And number 3, that there are threats against the MLAs with Mr. Eknath Shinde. These are the 3 main arguments. According to information that we are just getting, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi has begun his arguments on the other side. He's representing Ajay Chaudhary, the newly elected legislative party leader, and also Sunil Prabhu appearing for them. And his arguments have just begun. Now we'll have to wait and watch. But the three major issues and Nabam Rebia's entire judgment is something that Neeraj Kishan Kaul has recited. And Dr. Singhvi says Nabam Rebia is not applicable as per the argument that he is facing. So, Pranesh, coming out and saying that Nabam Rebia judgment quoted so extensively by Neeraj Kishan Kaul does not apply in this case at all. That's the basic argument that has been made by Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. You know, it's becoming a big battery of lawyers versus each other in the Supreme Court, even as political bigwigs are poised against each other between Maharashtra and Guwahati. That's what's playing out at this moment. Legal arguments coming in. Nabam Rebia judgment of Arunachal is not applicable is the argument given by Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. We'll have to wait and watch how he proves that point, because this judgment has been extensively quoted by the lawyer Neeraj Kishan Kaul representing Eknath Shinde and that faction. Clearly getting interesting, and fate of Maharashtra Assembly literally hanging in balance. Where's the question? High Court or Supreme Court? That is what is being stated now by Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who begins to oppose every single argument that was put forth by Mr. Neeraj Kishan Kaul. Nabam Rebia not applicable. High Court is the correct forum, or the Supreme Court. So clearly their attempt at this time would be to transfer this petition to the Maharashtra High Court, at least from the beginning of the arguments that have been put out by Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi just, you know, in his opening arguments. Well, where do you think this is headed? Any guesses?
Well, Kapil Sibal is going to argue next. Remember, he's the one representing the man of the moment, who is the Deputy Speaker, Mr. Zirwal. He's under fire from the Shinde camp. And Avita, as we speak, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta also getting into this. He says, I think the Deputy Speaker is on caveat, and let us hear him. Singhvi, my learned friend, will not decide who will open first. So, Nilashish, heated arguments underway in the Supreme Court.
Well, absolutely, and as expected,
I'd like
now
to put in a major argument that is being made by Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, and he wants this entire petition to be redirected to the Maharashtra, to the Bombay High Court, and High Court is the place where this should be settled and not the Supreme Court, is the big argument that is being put forth by Abhishek Manu Singhvi. And that's when Tushar Mehta, Solicitor General, has come in and said that caveats are there, and caveats filed by the Deputy Speaker will have to be heard before the new leader of the Legislative Assembly of the Shiv Sena, Ajay Chaudhary. All happening there, lots of action in Supreme Court. Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi is being stopped by the Solicitor General, who's directing possibly that the fact that there is a caveat that exists before of the Deputy Speaker, which should be heard first, and that could come up. The argument continues to be on how this petition should have been in the High Court rather than the Supreme Court.
So at the moment, Navita, it is back to square one. This is how the arguments began. The Supreme Court asking, why have you not gone to the High Court? Why have you come to the Supreme Court? Shinde camp lawyer Advocate Kaul said that, look, there is threat to life to the 39 rebel MLAs, which is why we have come here directly. And now Singhvi questioning the petitioners leapfrogging to the Supreme Court without approaching the High Court first. Nilashish.
Well, yes, absolutely. This is in line with what was expected in a way, because the question of maintainability will be raised. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, in fact, when he opened his arguments, and as Navika pointed out, the Solicitor General questioned his locus to argue for first, given the fact that there is already a caveat on behalf of the Deputy Speaker. Rajiv Dhawan, appearing for the Deputy Speaker, has said that he has no problems with Abhishek Manu Singhvi arguing first. So Abhishek Manu Singhvi now presenting his arguments, saying that in fact this matter should be sent back to the High Court, and the Supreme Court should in fact uses its discretion in order to send it back to the High Court. Why? Because he says that the